Ray Brown's Talking Birds.
Made possible by the generous support of the Birdwatchers General Store, Orleans, Cape Cod. Birdwatchersgeneralstore.com.
By Vortex Optics with the VIP warranty. Their unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. Learn more at vortexoptics.com.
By Birds and Beans shade-grown bird-friendly coffee. Birdsandbeans.com.
And Buteo Books, an independent family-owned bookstore carrying one of the largest selections of birding books in the world. ButeoBooks.com.
Good morning. Welcome to our show number 851. On last week's show, our Mike O'Connor sang the praises of birding in community gardens, where birds often congregate to feast on things like seeds of native plants and provide great bird viewing opportunities in the process. Well, here's a little reinforcement of that idea with sightings posted on the MassBird listserv by superstar birder Strickland Wheelock at a community garden and nearby woods here in our home state of Massachusetts. And the list includes clay-colored sparrow, song, savanna, swamp, and Lincoln sparrows, dickcissel, bobolink, raptors like osprey, red-shouldered hawk, red-tailed hawk, and American kestrel, warblers including American redstart, common yellowthroat, and prairie warbler, plus least flycatcher, eastern phoebe, and about a dozen other species. Pretty cool. Birding in community gardens, a top quality idea. Also on last week's show, we gave a plug for a new installment of Freya's blog by our Freya McGregor. It was about how she came to find herself sending bird-themed audio postcards to us. Well, she has already followed up on that with a new blog about how all are welcome to send us an audio postcard, along with instructions on how to do it. So Talking Birds listeners, if you'd like to consider sending us an audio postcard as you see and hear birds out there, please do, and check out Freya's blog for details on how to do it. Find it under the Read tab at talkingbirds.com. We've already received some great listener submissions, and by the way, family members are also welcome, which is a good thing because we're about to hear an audio postcard from Melbourne, Australia, courtesy of a talented sibling of our Freya McGregor. It's from Karen McGregor, who's been observing a couple of amazing Australian avians and wanted to share them with us. Be prepared for a couple of very intense sounding birds.
This is Karen McGregor here. I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and there's two Australian kookaburras laughing at each other. And now we have some currawongs. I hope you enjoyed those two distinctive Australian bird calls. Bye.
And we did. Thank you, Karen, for that short and very sweet kookaburra and currawong audio postcard from Melbourne, Australia. Talking Birds listeners, if you'd like to send us a postcard, we'd love to hear it. Check out Freya's blog on our website for full details on how to do it. This bird a little more local. It's our mystery bird. And this would be a preview of our mystery bird contest coming along a little bit later in the show, but we want to give you some clues and hear the sound and tell you about the prizes now. So you'll be ready for that when we do the contest a bit later. And we'll give you the phone number too, not to call now, but to have ready when we do the contest. And that would be 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. Not to call now, but when we do the contest in just a little bit. Our mystery bird is a large shorebird with a white throat and underparts. It's black on top from most of the face down the back of its neck and across its back to the tail. It has red eyes, a long, thin black bill, and very long, thin red legs. Here in the U.S., our bird is found mostly in the southern states, but makes the occasional foray farther north. It forages for crabs and shellfish, finfish, and tadpoles, usually in shallow, fresh, and saltwater ponds. The clues and the sound of our mystery bird and beautiful prizes await, including the Droll Yankees cute chickadee feeder from Droll Yankees, makers of the world's best bird feeders. This is perfect for sunflower seed, mixed seed, fruit, or mealworms. Also, we have a 12-ounce bag of bird-friendly, shade-grown, and delicious Birds and Beans coffee. Those are the main prizes. And if we have time for our bonus question, sometimes we do, we have a prize for that as well. This is a new thing, and it's a $20 gift card from Wisdom Supply Company, which is named after the oldest recorded wild bird, Wisdom the Midway albatross. Wisdom Supply is a women-owned B Corporation doing its part to prevent plastic pollution through thoughtfully designed plastic-free, zero-waste school and office supplies. So there are your prizes, clues, and the sound of our mystery bird for the contest coming along in just a little bit. Well, our show is about birds and conservation. Henry David Thoreau was a bird lover and conservationist, and we use a quote from him as kind of a guide here on our show. And the quote is, "What is the use of a house if you haven't got a tolerable planet to put it on?" So here are a couple of stories highlighting the challenges of maintaining a tolerable planet in the face of climate change. As reported by CNN, and this is Australia again, at Deakin University in Australia, they've discovered that some warm-blooded animals, including birds, are experiencing shifts in their body shapes, likely as a response to the pressures of climate change. Researcher Sarah Riding says animals are getting larger beaks, legs, and ears that allow them to better regulate their body temperatures as the planet gets hotter, with birds particularly affected. It means, she says, that animals are evolving, but it does not necessarily mean that they are coping with climate change. We don't know, she says, if they will be able to keep up as the climate crisis worsens. Then there's a directly human-related dilemma. NPR cites a joint editorial published in more than 200 medical journals that the rapidly warming climate is the greatest threat to global public health. And the journals urge world leaders to cut heat-trapping emissions to avoid catastrophic harm to health that will be impossible to reverse. The editorial also says no temperature rise is safe, and that in the past 20 years, heat-related mortality among people over 65 years of age has increased by more than 50%. Sobering news about the effects and pace of climate change on birds and people. All right, how about some good news? The Department of the Interior announced this week that $34 million in grants has been approved to help conserve or restore 177,000 acres of wetland and associated upland habitats for waterfowl, shorebirds, and other birds in 20 states. The grants will be matched by $74 million in partner funds. The department points out that the value of wetlands extends far beyond waterfowl, with more than 60 bird species benefiting from these projects. By the way, just a sample of some of the projects this year. Southeast Louisiana marsh enhancement, where species that will benefit include black rail, brown pelican, and bald eagle. Kansas prairie wetlands, where species that will be helped include lesser scaup, king rail, and snowy plover. And wetlands of the Sacramento Valley, California. Species that will benefit there include northern pintail, redhead, and American widgeon. That's some good news. And meanwhile, this is a special week for doing good things for our planet because it's National Drive Electric Week, designed to raise awareness about the awesomeness of clean energy electric vehicles. This is a perfect thing for anybody who wants to learn more about electric cars, considering getting one, with events going on all over the country through October 3rd. And a website there, too, chock full of information about the electric vehicle revolution, which really is well underway now. We have a link to the National Drive Electric Week site right now on our website, so easy to find at talkingbirds.com, talkingbirds.com. We're fortunate to be able to salute new ambassadors of our show every week so far on our show. Talking Birds ambassadors, kind of the royalty of our Talking Birds listener family. They're helping us get the word out about the show and about birds and conservation. So thank you to Jessica Licari from Allison Park, Pennsylvania, right there in the Pittsburgh area. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you to Brian Harris from Avon Lake, Ohio, who was kind enough to say that he and his wife love our show and have listened faithfully every week via the podcast for many of the 800 plus. Wow. Thank you so much, Brian. How to become a Talking Birds ambassador? As Brian and Jessica will attest, I'm sure, it's very easy. Just go to talkingbirds.com. That's talkingbirds.com.
There's no G in talking.
And click up at the top of the page where it says, Get Involved. Still to come on our show today, we'll catch up with Mike O'Connor in an almost live from the archive Let's Ask Mike segment about peanuts, wild turkeys, and comfort squirrels. Plus, we'll give away a fabulous feeder from the makers of the world's best feeders, Droll Yankees, and a big bag of our favorite coffee, Birds and Beans, shade-grown, bird-friendly coffee, and also that Wisdom Supply Company certificate if we have time for our bonus question today. And up next, a bird that intrigued the great author Herman Melville is today's featured feathered friend. Presented by Birdwatching Magazine. For more than a quarter century, Birdwatching has been North America's premier magazine about wild birds and birding. Not nearly as famous as his Moby Dick, but filled with enchantment, is a short novel by Herman Melville called The Encantadas, or Enchanted Isles, which we now know as the Galapagos Islands. In the book, Melville speaks of many birds and of the cacophony of bird calls on a tiny island there known as Rock Rodondo. And of today's featured feathered friend, he said, "But down through all this discord of commotion, I hear clear silver bugle-like notes unbrokenly falling like oblique lines of swift, slanting rain in a cascading shower. I gaze far up and behold a snow-white angelic thing with one long lance-like feather thrust out behind. It is the bright, inspiriting chanticleer of ocean, the beauteous bird from its bestirring whistle of musical invocation, fitly styled the bosun's mate." The bird of which Melville wrote with such awed exclamation was Phaeton aetherius, the red-billed tropic bird. A seabird of tropical oceans, the red-billed tropic bird is so beloved in Bermuda that they've declared it their national bird and engraved it on their currency, despite the fact that it is rarely seen there. The red-billed tropic bird, about 1.5 feet long, not counting its streaming central tail feathers, has a mostly white body with black edges on the wings, black eyes, yellow legs, and a red bill. Or, as Mr. Melville described it, a snow-white, angelic thing, the bright, inspiriting chanticleer of ocean. Today's Talking Birds featured feathered friend, the red-billed tropic bird. Welcome again to our show number 851. Well, a couple of weeks ago, our Mike O'Connor told us that his town, Orleans, Massachusetts on Cape Cod, had just passed a ban on the sale of water in those little single-use plastic bottles. Lots of places all around the country and the world, for that matter, are banning these little nasty bottles. And so this leads us to this question. Is it better to drink bottled water instead of tap water? They tell us in the ads on TV that bottled water is good for you and me. But if we just do a little digging before we spend the dough, we might just discover that
it ain't necessarily so.
And who says it ain't necessarily so? Well, among others, although she doesn't use the word ain't, is Dr. Gina Solomon, senior scientist at the Natural Resources Defense Council, who told the New York Times that, quote, there is no reason to believe that bottled water is safer than tap water, end quote. Meanwhile, Ban the Bottle, an organization that promotes environmental health by advocating bans on one-time use plastic water bottles, points out that in the U.S., public water is regulated by the Environmental Protection Agency, which requires multiple daily water tests and makes results available to the public. Bottled water, on the other hand, is regulated by the Food and Drug Administration, which only requires weekly testing, not daily, and does not share its findings with the public. Here in our home state of Massachusetts, a company that had been supplying bottled water for years to major retailers, including CVS and Whole Foods, shut down their business permanently after it was discovered that some of their bottled water was contaminated with chemicals that are used in nonstick and waterproof coatings and that have been linked to cancer and other health problems. Ban the Bottle also points out that nearly a quarter of all bottled water sold in the U.S. is either Pepsi's Aquafina or Coke's Dasani, both of which are purified municipal water. We could all create a similar product by running our tap water through a filter or by using a filtered water pitcher. One filter can effectively replace as many as 300 standard 16.9-ounce bottles. The average filter water pitcher purifies 240 gallons of water a year for about 19 cents a day. To get the same amount of water from bottled water, the cost is about $5 a day. But the wasteful spending on water is just the beginning. Americans used about 50 billion plastic water bottles last year. 50 billion. And the recycling rate is so low that 38 billion water bottles are wasted annually, with a huge percentage winding up as part of the 8 million metric tons of plastic that enters our oceans every year. And those facts are why it's estimated by many organizations that have studied the problem that if we keep dumping plastic trash into our oceans at the current rate, by the year 2050, there will be, by weight, more plastic than fish in our oceans. And a whole lot of that plastic will be in the form of bottles formerly filled with breathtakingly expensive, plain old water. So when we hear that it's better to drink bottled water than tap water, for the reasons just delineated, it seems pretty clear that it ain't necessarily so, to say the least.
Cool, clear water.
Coming up next, here it's our Mystery Bird contest in just 1 minute. The flutter of a tail feather, the flash of a wing bar in mid-flight. You don't always have a lot of time to identify a bird in nature, let alone to appreciate its beauty. But with Vortex Optics, you'll have the power to bring every wild moment closer. When you choose Vortex, you're choosing to have a partner in the field as passionate about nature as you are. Whether you're spotting old friends on the backyard feeder or packing for a once-in-a-lifetime trip to add a few species to your life list, Vortex offers a full range of optics and optics accessories for every birder and every budget. And whether the birds are taking you to another state or another country, you're always covered by the Vortex VIP warranty, an unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. If you'd like to learn more, or if you need help choosing your next optic, give Vortex a call at 1-800-4VORTEX or visit vortexoptics.com. It's the sound of our mystery bird. Oh, by the way, I should mention last week with some technical issues, we never mentioned the name of last week's mystery bird. It was the black tern. And we're determined to have a winner every week, so we got some emails about the contest and did a drawing, and Sid Q from Holland, Michigan was our winner. So congratulations, Sid. Okay, this week's contest, this week's bird, you just heard the sound of it. It's a large shorebird with a white throat and underparts. It's black on top from most of the face, down the back of its neck, and across its back to the tail. It has red eyes, a long, thin black bill, and very long, thin red legs. Here in the U.S., our bird is found mostly in the southern states, but makes the occasional foray farther north. It forages for crabs, shellfish, finfish, and tadpoles in shallow, fresh, and saltwater ponds. Clues and the sound of our mystery bird and beautiful prizes await. Here's the number. It's 781-837-4900. As always, we urge you to call as soon as possible because we do tend to run out of time. In many cases, 781-837-4900 is the number. Prizes include the Droll Yankees Cute Chickadee Feeder. Even lets you manage the size of visiting birds with its height-adjustable dome. And its 4.5 diameter dish is perfect for sunflower seed, mixed seed, fruit, or mealworms. And our bonus prize, actually we'll have a bonus prize if we have time on the contest. Our other prize, this is one of the main prizes, it's a 12-ounce bag of bird-friendly, shade-grown, and delicious Birds and Beans coffee. Both those prizes to the correct answer. Caller on our mystery bird contest. No correct answer means a drawing will determine our winner. 781-837-4900 is the number to call. Next, we'll check in with Mike O'Connor, almost live from the archive. Let's ask Mike in just 1 minute. Beauty-O Books carries one of the largest selections of birding books in the world. New, used, and rare books covering everything from backyard birding to general ornithology. From field guides to photography skills, biography, fiction, and humor. You'll find it all, along with the knowledgeable customer service you've been looking for in one convenient place. BeautyOBooks.com. B-U-T-E-O. BeautyOBooks.com.
My name is Matt Valaga from the Birdie Bunch podcast. I'm calling you from Naperville, Illinois. I love being a Talking Birds ambassador because that gives me the opportunity to kind of reach across to people and kind of bring them in to this wonderful, diverse community that is just growing birding and bird watching and ornithology as a passion.
Talkin' Birds listeners, we hope you'll join our ambassadors family. Just visit our website, talkinbirds.com. Join today, and thanks.
Well, it looks like peanuts, wild turkeys, wild boars, and comfort squirrels all on the topic list here this morning with Mike O'Connor down there at the Birdwatchers General Store. Good morning, Mike.
Oh, good morning, Ray. Yeah, that's right. The comfort squirrels, a little upset over this. You know, for years, everybody's been complaining about squirrels, and now we try to get the squirrels to actually come and help people comfort this poor woman who's trying to fly, and they wouldn't let her have it on the plane. Did you see this? In Orlando, they removed this woman from the plane because she had her comfort squirrel with her. Yeah, and then they won't let her fly with that. I don't know what the world's coming to. When you can't fly with a squirrel to get you comfort,
exactly.
It's upsetting.
I take my chipmunk with me everywhere I go. I don't know
what's next. They're going to stop me with my comfort rhinoceros?
It's comfort rhino, yeah. I've seen that thing. You have to pay for an extra seat or two for that, I think.
I don't know. It's all gone crazy, Ray. You know? But anyway... Yeah. Onto peanuts, because a lot of folks ask me, they put out sunflower seeds. I always yap about that, and they say, is there something else we can try? And here's something you could try, especially in the fall: peanuts. Regular, good old eat at the ballpark peanuts. You get them in shells. You get them without the shells. That's two different ways. The ones with the shells, you really don't need a specialty feeder. You can put them out on a tray, and then birds come and take them. Titmice like them, but especially the blue jays. Blue jays will... You put out peanuts on a tray, and the blue jays will be on before you get back in the house. They just love those. They take several at a time. And, the people think, well, the blue jays are pigs. Well, they kind of cache them for the winter. And they'll put as many as they can, and they got so many they can't even squawk anymore. And then you can get peanuts without the shells, and you put those in more of a wire mesh, like a regular sunflower tube feeder, only it's made out of wire. And when I first got one of those, I said, well, the peanuts don't fit through that, but that's the idea. The birds land on it, and they pick, and they take little pieces at a time, and especially nuthatches and chickadees and woodpeckers. It's like an alternative to suet. And a lot of people put suet out for woodpeckers, but this peanuts is cruelty-free. There's no animal products in here, and they just put them in there, and then the woodpeckers come, the downies, the hares, and chipmunks. The trouble with those things, you got to keep an eye on them, because without the shells, they get moldy quick, and you don't want moldy peanuts. It's no good for the birds, and it's certainly no good for your comfort squirrel.
Exactly. And you mentioned pigs also. I thought it just mentioned quickly. Last week we heard from Janice up in
New Hampshire.
Grantham, New Hampshire. And her landscaper said that turkeys had been chewing up her lawn. It turns out they were actually wild boars from the nearby game park that were doing that. So Janice wanted to apologize to the turkeys for blaming them.
Living creatures, yeah,
it wasn't their fault at all.
Yeah,
all right. Talk to you next week, Mike.
Sounds great.
Every Wednesday, Birdwatching Magazine sends an e-newsletter full of information of interest to birdwatchers, including recent news stories about birds, conservation, and science, photography tips, stories about places to go birding, bird ID tips, and much more. Best of all, the newsletter is free. Sign up today at birdwatchingdaily.com/newsletter.
One more time with the sound of our mystery bird, and the number is 781-837-4900 for our mystery bird contest, trying to identify this large shorebird with a white throat and underparts. Really a very distinctive looking bird with its very long, thin, red legs. What would that bird be? 781-837-4900 is the number, and Caroline is in beautiful Hummerock, Massachusetts. Good morning, Caroline.
Hi.
Hi there. Good to hear. Yeah. Your turn. Go ahead. Go ahead, Caroline. We're waiting for your answer. Oh, did we lose Caroline, or we partly lost her?
Can't you hear me? Yeah.
We can hear you now. Yes.
Okay.
All right. What do you think, Caroline?
Gadfly Petrel.
Say that one more time.
The Bermuda Gadfly Petrel.
Yes, I'm not even sure what you said, but I don't think it sounded like the right answer to me. You could send us an email, and we can see what you kind of said there, because I guess our phone line is just a little bit dicey. But thank you so much, Caroline. All right, we'll go to Dorothy in Hanover, Massachusetts. Good morning, Dorothy.
Ray.
Good morning. Good morning, Dorothy. You heard the clues and all that stuff, and what do you think it is, that mystery bird there?
I think it's the black-necked stilt.
That sounds pretty good to me and all of us here, as a matter of fact. The black-necked stilt, absolutely correct. Nice job, Dorothy, and if you will be kind enough to stay on the line, we'll get your info there and send you those prizes.
Oh, thank you very much, Ray.
Thank you, Dorothy.
We love your program.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dorothy in Hanover, Mass. Black-necked stilt is our mystery bird. Next week, the great David Clapp will be here on our show. And thanks to our amazing Talking Birds team, senior producer Debbie Bleacher, outreach coordinator Freya McGregor, our producing engineer Jesse Comfort Rhino Wilkins. I'm Ray Brown. See you next week.
The Bird Show. I like that.
Ray Brown's Talking Birds.
Made possible by the generous support of the Birdwatchers General Store, Orleans, Cape Cod. Birdwatchersgeneralstore.com.
By Vortex Optics. With the VIP warranty, their unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. Learn more at vortexoptics.com.
By Birds and Beans shade-grown bird-friendly coffee. birdsandbeans.com.
And Buteo Books, an independent family-owned bookstore carrying one of the largest selections of birding books in the world. ButeoBooks.com.